Welcome everybody. Vision Gap is Friday afternoon, 4 o'clock Eastern. We're back again. Tony Zayas.
Eddie Oko.
Andy's voice is...
I don't have anything, so you're going to have to...
It's all me this week. I guess it's all me.
You're going to mime.
Andy is going to mime American Sign Language for the... We always talk about the ADA compliance. This could be fun. What are we going? 106 minutes today? Yeah. All right, so this is one of those in-between sessions. We've gone through brand strategy. We're going to be moving on by the beginning of the new year. We're going to go into spin-out. We're going to talk about how you can take your existing traditional business model and turn that into a unique way to generate revenue through a new product. We've worked with some companies that have done that. It's pretty exciting, and Andy would tell you all about it if he was able to talk, but he could just gesture today. But today we're going to talk about the idea of big ideas and BHAGs. So if you've heard of the concept, watch, listen to me and watch. There it is. We can hear it.
Oh,
we hear
you
the
can
laugh.
hear me now? Wait a second.
You're busted.
I'm busted.
So
what are we talking about?
We're going to be talking about BHAGs. So big, hairy, audacious goals and big ideas.
Yeah, BHAGs. So, I mean, this is something that I love as any part of strategic planning is whether it's for your company, we talk about big, hairy, audacious goals, you know, something huge in the horizon. It tends to be very aspirational for your team. It's kind of that piece when we talk about culture and we're looking at like mission, vision, values, core values. You know, BHAGs, one of those nice pieces to add into culture to say like, along with vision and mission and values, we have this kind of like hairy, audacious goal that we want to achieve, and it acts as like a nice aspirational piece. But outside of culture, you can also use it in things like, you know, marketing and say, you know, what's a big, hairy, audacious goal for that? You know, I've seen some organizations break it down into every department has their big, hairy, audacious goal. And so, you know, it's a really cool little thing. And I think people always like the BHAG, you know, what is a big, hairy, audacious goal, and it's something fun to talk about. So, yeah, they're a cool way to look at different things.
Yeah, for sure. And the reason that I thought about this to mention is something that I really like that you've thrown in a number of proposals that as we've pitched, you know, different clients on, you know, different strategy engagements and other type of work. A lot of times what Andy will do that I really like is at the bottom of it, he gets a sense of, you know, what is this company all about? What are they trying to achieve? And then we put together in the proposal everything kind of we talked about and whatnot. But he tries to think kind of next level. Think about what type of value can we bring to the table that hasn't been discussed, but we know it's something that, wow, that's really where they want to be, and include that as almost like a little bonus just to entice a little bit further. And I think that's really cool because big ideas are always what grabs people's attention. I heard it put really well in that you have to, you know, we think we're logical creatures, but human beings are heavily emotional, right? And we kind of balance the two. So things that are both emotionally compelling and intellectually interesting are the ones that resonate most. And then when you're delivering it in a unique fashion, that's kind of like the 3 points you got to hit for a really powerful big idea.
Yeah.
So do you want to talk more about kind of how did you start doing that? Because I love how you include those in the proposals.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think big, hairy, audacious goals have been part of everything that we look at when we're doing marketing campaign planning and strategic planning for brand or culture. And for me, it's, you know, we are all about strategy and really thinking strategic, but a lot of times that strategy is very focused on near term. We're really looking at these 1 year, you know, goals. We're looking at what's the next activity we're going to do. But, you know, every business has the opportunity to think bigger and to, you know, look further out and what are the opportunities that might not be right in front of you. I even think the whole concept of spin out, which we're about to dive into, where you find a business or a product within your existing company and you spin it out and how you create that new business is kind of that big, hairy, audacious thing. It's, we exist in this existing field. We have objectives we're trying to achieve within that business, but then there is something bigger that can be created. And so, I just think that it's now part of our DNA is not just to be thinking about activity, not just to be thinking about strategy, and all these different pieces, but also what is that big innovative idea? And part of our core values is always innovate. So I think it is in our DNA that how do we think of these new ideas? And again, a big, hairy, audacious goal shouldn't be something too crazy, because it is a goal. It's something we want to achieve. So it's really just about developing that.
Yeah. And I think part of what that does, when I see those, the way you've used that in proposals, is that it's really the differentiation is possibly that our prospects and eventually clients, hopefully, are looking at us and understanding that this is going to be a partnership, because they're not just saying, oh yeah, they want to win this project, knock it out, and then move on to the next. They're saying we're looking at you from a long-term perspective, and this is something that beyond the things we're talking about, we want to get you even further, closer to that goal. So I think it helps us, it's a positioning piece when we show that we want to truly partner with the clients we're bringing on.
Yeah, I agree. I think you asked when we thought about talking about this subject is how do you come up with these?
Yeah.
And I don't know if there's a magic formula. That being said, I am very much about breaking things out in the different pieces. And so I do think when you start looking at a business and you're thinking about the different models, what are the opportunities in the space? What are the connecting ideas between your customers and what you're currently offering? What are the pains that they have? What is new technology that's happening in the marketplace? What are trends that are happening? These are all data points in many different ways, even behavioral psychology, all of this stuff, that somehow you're finding something that's unique that is an opportunity for the business to grow. And I think we've talked about it before. My big concept that I hope to be writing a book about at some point is the whole combinatory play thing.
I love it.
Which combinatory play was a technique that Einstein and Tesla used to be innovative and create new ideas. And the way it's kind of described in an easy way is you use all this different knowledge, and kind of what I just rattled off is, you can look at marketing tactics, you can look at target audience, new technologies, behavioral psychology, all of these different things. And what combinatory play is kind of this idea, think of it as slot machine in your head, where you're kind of running, you pull the thing and you got 3 wheels running, one about behavioral psychology, one about technology, the other about the target audience, and boom, you're trying to find this matching combination that works, that that hasn't been done before. And that's something that the reason I'm so passionate about it is I actually believe it's my superpower, is the thing that makes me tick and be good at what I do, is that ability to do combinatory play and do it very fast. And so it's really this idea of, I think to do it well, you have to be educated in a lot of different subjects. How do you take the fact that, there's anchoring in grocery stores where they're putting fresh flowers first to create the mindset that you're moving forward with something fresh, to maybe user experience on the web, to this, and say, okay, how do those things match? And all of a sudden you're creating a new approach to the way people log in or enter a software, because you want to set a primer for them and anchor them when they first get into the software. So you're grabbing something from a whole nother industry, you're maybe taking something else that you're currently offering if you have a software product, and then you're looking at your audience, and again, these things, it's like if you have a wide range of knowledge about AR, VR, future, psychology, human, how do you run that that little slot machine to be coming up with new ideas that take a combination that people have never seen before, but it fits. It's three cherries.
Yeah,
you know?
it's a fascinating concept, and you mentioned it once before. I think back this summer came up. We were talking about. Yeah, I'm fascinated by that concept, and I think the intimidating thing when people think about they have to innovate, come up with something new, that's intimidating because we think it's from scratch. But the idea of combinatory play, and I think this is where all innovation comes from in some way, shape, or form, is that all of those elements exist, right?
Yeah.
It's like there's a belief
Making a
that
new
there's
combination,
there's nothing that's really new. It's a new combination,
Yeah.
and that's why the point that you actually touched on, I was going to jump in and say, I've been a big fan of looking at different industries, maybe totally unrelated to where you're playing, and figure out what works well there, and how
Right.
can you take that and incorporate it, because then it's new to the people that you're interacting with, to your audience. It's brand new to them,
Yeah.
because you pulled it. They're not expecting it in this realm. So it's a great way to create innovative ideas, and like you said,
The other thing that I like it is, if you can do it well, you figure out how to kind of mix things that people wouldn't normally do.
Yeah.
Great example for me is I was talking with someone once about, their relationship with their wife and their kids, and, how it was adjusting, and we were talking about all this stuff. And the conversation in my mind while they were talking is I was thinking about analytics, and how you could virtually take what we look at as analytics with a website, and based on the problem that he was having in his personal life, I actually saw okay, well, every time you have a conversation with your kids, it's kind of a view.
Yeah.
And then the longer the conversation is, that's how much they scroll on the page. And, and if the conversation leads to something else, they moved on to the next step. Because I think he was saying that with his teenage kids, he was having these very short conversations, and they were at that age that he didn't know, is that just our relationship? Are we having any depth? But to me, it's well, you could actually, if you want to, maybe look at measuring that or even setting goals. And so why can't we take the concept of analytics?
Yeah.
Why couldn't we take the concept of, measuring our relationships with our family or other people and put some analytics to it? And the longer the conversation, the deeper it is, and you're looking at not just the number of conversations, but the depth.
Yeah.
If you have a high number of conversations, but they have low depth, it's not as good. And then even bringing in the idea of A/B testing is, how are you approaching the way that you talk about in conversations?
Yeah.
And so it's really I think the other part of combinatory play is this idea that, can you in your head sometimes bring together topics that you wouldn't think, like the relationship with your children and Google Analytics.
Yeah.
Well, someone would tell you, how does that ever connect?
Sure.
But to me, I actually, that combinatory play